All right, healthcare, I feel like we're talking about this forever. We've been talking about this for 7 years. I feel like they should have had something by now.
Right. No, and should have and have to, by the way. I really believe this. The American people gave a mandate to the Republican Party by giving them both houses of Congress and the White House. They gave the kids the keys to the car, all right? The car has to get out of the garage, and it's got to get into gear. And if it doesn't, by the way, I think the consequences in 2018 for the Republican Party will be dire, and they should be, quite frankly.
I think they'll be more dire if they do push something.
Right, well, but they're taking their 4th of July vacation still. I mean, are they going to find the answers inside of a hot dog at a barbecue, or what?
Can I address this? Let's address the politics of this for a second. Let's say they go ahead and take this deadline, and somehow they twist enough arms, make enough backdoor deals that they get the votes to pass Trump care, health care. By the way, this isn't Trump care. This has nothing to do with Donald Trump. They get the votes. They go to 2018. Through 2018, premiums are rising. Now the Democrats are tattooing the Republicans with a terrible health care problem. They own the problem right now as Democrats. Let them have it through the midterms.
Let me tell you this, though, Eric. You're right in that technically President Trump doesn't have anything to do with it. He cannot run away from it, though. The labeling is going to be there. This will be Trump care all day long to those that are not paying microscopic attention.
Yes, and for that reason, keep it Obamacare until you get through midterms, and then turn it into
also, Eric, you are right that in some respects Trump doesn't own this because the Republicans, much before Donald Trump even got into politics, right, have been talking about repeal and replacing Obamacare. However, having said that, I believe the holy grail of the Trump movement is not health care, it's taxes.
Thank you.
And health care is going to make it easier, though, to get to tax cuts. And if we get to tax cuts, and we will, I believe, and this economy starts truly growing again, enough of this mediocrity of 1% and 2% growth, even if the health care bill isn't perfect at that point, I believe into 2018 and beyond, the American people are going to be so refreshed and invigorated and believing in the Trump movement.
You can get the tax care reform without health care reform first.
We can. Now, we can't make it permanent, but that's okay.
You say yes, we can?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I thought that's what I was going to say.
I'm going to get you in here real quick because I feel like, yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect, maybe, but this has a lot of the same problems. And if this falls apart, we're going to have single payer.
Yeah, well, what Steve said, the analogy of this is giving the keys to the car to the kids. It's like Ferris Bueller's Day Off right now, though, because the way it's not so much the administration, but the leadership on the Hill is not pushing for what they said was going to be their signature thing once they had the House, the Senate, and the White House. And they're totally disjointed between the two sides of the House. The Republican Hill is falling. And the Republican leadership either needs to wake up and realize what the American people did put Donald Trump in the White House to do and allow him to take part in this process or show leadership.
100% accurate. Look what happened with the House bill and the Senate bill. Yeah. These are both leadership-generated bills, not the general population of either body of Congress.
No, I think in many ways this is really the swamp at its worst.
Exactly.
Somebody should write a book about the swamp. Anybody know anything about that? It is a swamp at its worst, and I really mean that because I believe a lot of Republicans, while they won't say this publicly, privately, they're okay with the status quo. They're okay with the tax code. Generally, they're okay with health care. They really are. Sadly, I hate to say that.
Are you talking about Republicans on the Hill or Republicans?
Yes, on the Hill. No, on the Hill. Not voters.
I would agree.
No,
certainly not voters.
Republicans on the Hill. But I'm saying that I don't think they still quite understand the electoral revolution that happened in this country in 2016. I don't think they understand the angst, the anger. I also don't think they understand the opportunity on the upside of what we can do in this country if we start growing again the way we did in the 80s and the 90s, and we can get there. I still am confident we will.
Perhaps there's still resentment, though, Steve, around the fact that when you put 17 Republicans on a stage, the one that didn't represent the status quo, the one that didn't really kind of come from their fabric, is the one that prevailed. And so as an outsider looking into the party, maybe there's still some resentment or something, or certainly at least a lack of understanding, right, Tim, around that issue.
Absolutely. I think because he's an outsider, I mean, Donald Trump is not a politician, and Donald Trump is president because he's not a politician. I think those are two clear facts that everybody can agree on. And I believe on the Hill especially, those people that are part of the swamp are also part of the country club. And now you have a guy that came into the country club over the wall, through the fence, and drove his pickup truck across the
I'm going to push back on that a little bit because I don't necessarily think that the people who are opposed to the health care bill specifically are opposed because they resent Trump. I think that they are a little more strict in terms of being small government conservatives. I think that their records dictate that that's what it's about.
Except for the ones that want to spend more on Medicare.
Except for in some cases, people who have become more liberal. But I'm saying the majority, we talk about the Pauls and the Lees and the Cruzes.
But
that's got nothing to do with a personal vendetta.
If they go ahead and try and appease the Pauls and the Lees and the Ted Cruzes,
then the moderates are going to want to get out.
Can we just take it around? Let's play politics for 5 minutes here. Let's say they do put the health care agenda strategy aside for now. Then they push through, and this is important, Ebony, because they push through tax reform, which the Republicans love, but then tie it to infrastructure, which the Democrats love. So now you have two major plans that could go forward, and guess what? Healthcare doesn't happen, but you have both sides of Congress saying we got to win out of this. And how does that not make sense?
It's a major win in both ways, because the two things that you're talking about, both the economy and the infrastructure, are things that Donald Trump are saying are related, because he wants private investment in infrastructure. Well, guess what? If you allow tax cuts that allow more people to have more cash freed up, then those people, especially the ones that can afford to join into infrastructure, are the ones that can and will. And
well,
so
Eric,
it's an incentive.
You're talking about putting actual points on the board. That's what your proposal will do,
Major
I think.
Points.
Major points on the board.
We're not talking about an extra point or a safety.
No.
We're talking, you know, a touchdown,
with a
pick
two-point conversion.
six.
Yeah, yeah. And instead of that, I think people are thinking, oh, the political payoff for finally repealing and replacing. That's been the establishment and the party's big promise. But you're right, that's different than Donald Trump's big promise.
How is that not, Steve? How is that not a win for everyone?
I think it is a win, and my guess is if this doesn't happen quickly, healthcare, I think that will be the plan of the White House. I don't know that, but I believe that will be the plan, and it probably should be. You know, I would also say this. It is so important. The lack of growth underlies so many of the problems facing our country. So many. I think the division we have, the anxiety in the country, opioid abuse, so many things are from a lack of growth, a lack of opportunity. What will most induce growth and compel growth? Tax cuts. We have to get to tax
I'll never understand why they didn't start there. Instead of going with health care when they don't even know what they want to do with it.
Political seduction. They were
Here's why.
Well, it doesn't seem to be making them look very good politically now.
Tim will confirm this. Here's why. Paul Ryan guaranteed, he went to the White House and said, I have health care. I have our body ready to vote on health care. They're on board. They're in favor of it. And he was wrong. Yep. And so he put the presidency in the crosshairs for the Democrats. He's the reason why they started there. They never should have. You're 100% right.
Yeah, they have no idea what they're doing. And when you talk about the vote now, it's this centering around this vote of got to get this out before vacation. Got it. Sorry, but this is disgusting.
Yeah, that's
disgusting. You need to say got to get this out because this is so good that we need this for the American people. That's not what I'm hearing.
Well, I'm hearing
we got to get this out because I have to go to my family barbecue.
Yeah.
I don't care about that.
They don't deserve a break.
Right.
They don't deserve a trip to the golf course. They don't deserve a trip to the beach. I wrote an article about this on Real Clear Politics. If you don't get these things done, no vacation. Who takes August off? I don't take all of August. What are we, Europeans? I mean, we don't take all of August off. The Congress should absolutely, and if the leadership has any real backbone, and if they actually care about what the people said in 2016, the Hill leadership will say, no break. It'll be like a high school lock-in. Nobody's getting out of here.
Right.
You're locked in.
Because when they were trying to get votes, they kept saying, this is so important, this is the most important, and now it's like, okay, but not as important as my cheeseburger on the firework, you know. It's so disingenuous.
You know what it is, Kat? I think they expected people to fall in party line and that everybody was going to rally around this in some cohesive way, and that's not happening. People are looking back at their constituents in various points and saying, you know what, I'm going to be accountable and I'm going to be the one to pay a price, and they're not going for it.
Can I give you another theory that floats, which I actually ascribe to? The leadership on both sides, the House and the Senate, are establishment, old school Republicans that have been there for forever. Who are the anti-Trumpers leading up to it?
That's what I'm saying.
Old school establishment Republicans.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't put it past them to say, hey, look, you know,
but you think it's sabotage? You don't think this is sabotage?
I honestly think that
it's a lack of leadership.
I think that could be part of it. I think
look at James Mattis at DOD. Look at the leadership he provides. He comes out, he says things, the military backs up behind him. There's no commander that ever counters what James Mattis says. There's nobody linearly up and down the whole line of chain of command. That's leadership. You don't have that behind Ryan. You don't have that behind Mitch McConnell.
And the rest, Steve. Am I wrong that leadership on both sides?
As I said, and I hate to say this as a lifelong Republican, I've never voted for anybody but a Republican. I think they're okay secretly with the status quo. But having said that, before we work ourselves into too much of a negative tizzy here, it is going to get done. I do believe that. And through Trump's leadership, it's ugly to watch the hour-by-hour process, day by day of legislation. It's ugly. It's inefficient. It's supposed to be to some degree in a democracy. We're going to get there. We're going to get health care. We're going to get tax cuts. The future is bright.
We'll see. All right. Well.